So switching gears a little bit. So Julia, from the point of view of the photographer, which again is one of those major vendors that people are like, okay, I've confirmed this with my venue, now I need to know, can you be there? Because as you even mentioned earlier, there's a huge connection that happens between the photographer and the videographer in some cases, but especially with the photographer. What are you kind of advising? And you kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but go into it a little bit more in regards to, 2020 and 2021, and if you're, the limited availability, how it's affecting you, and how you're kind of advising your couples with that.
So it really depends on obviously every couple, but some have been offering me different dates and being like, are you available this date, this date? At first, what I advise them is to obviously check with the venue. That's the most important part. Check with the venue, what are the availabilities? And then come back to me. And if you can maybe have at least 2 different dates, 3, the more the better, obviously. So that way I can tell them, okay, that this works, this doesn't work. And then we go forward for this. There's some couples that have just, unfortunately, just decided on a date. And then they were like, oh, this is our new date. Are you available? And thankfully, so far, I have been. Also, I do have, so my company is called Juno Photo, and I do have other photographers. So I have teams. So that allows me to be more flexible with dates. Though the couples, the way it works is then sometimes they hire me as their main photographer, sometimes they hire one of my teams. And usually, obviously, if I'm transferring the date, I want them to transfer with the photographer that they've chosen. I think that's very important. But so far it's been working well. But I've heard different photographers being like, I have 3 brides wanting to book the same date. What do I do? So I know that's very difficult, but I think the couple, if for the couple, photography is really important and they have that connection with their photographers, I think it's really, really important that they talk to the photographer after talking to the venue and to offer different dates to make sure that their photographer is going to be available. I had a bride contact me, and she hadn't really talked to venue yet because the venue wasn't sure if they had to postpone anyway. But she contacted me and she was like, I want to let you know that my priority is to have you as our wedding photographer for next year. So I will, contact the venue to see what are the dates, but, I'm thinking about this date, like, are you available? And she's like, but 100%, I'm not changing my mind. Like, this is a priority for me. So I was like, oh, that's really nice. Like, I want to photograph your wedding too. I'm really excited, So it really depends, but I think if photography is important, definitely I think it's one of the first vendors to contact after. Obviously the planner if you have one, the venue, and then the photographer, and just offer different dates if possible. And as a photographer, we also need to be flexible. And if the wedding is a Friday, Sunday, Thursday, we will be there. If we're available, we will be there for sure. And it's going to be a bit hard for us definitely next year because we'll need to probably be, doing weddings maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And it's going to be really, really hard physically, emotionally. Yeah, it's going to be tiring. I'm very also, I tell my couples okay, for example, I had a couple wanting to reschedule a Sunday, and I told them, well, I am booked that Saturday. If that's the only date you have, I will be there 100%, but just letting you know, I do have a wedding the day before, just so they know. So ideally, I tried, and maybe if you can find another date, that would be ideal, but if you can't, I will be there, of course, 100%. So going back and forth, everyone needs to be flexible, and Jenna was mentioning, it's just yes, you are attached probably to a date. And I was really attached to my wedding date for this year because it was like 6/6/2020. I was like, this is so beautiful. I love it. It's perfect. Um, so I, trying to postpone, we were looking at dates next year. It's like, there's no date that it's actually perfect. I don't like it. And there was a moment where I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. Like I was very upset. And then you realize like, what are the important things? Like why are you getting married? Like in the end, what is important? You want to, you found love, you want to get married to that special someone, and you want to celebrate with friends and family, and that is the important part. It's not the date, it's not the day. It's really what it's all about, and it's refocusing on what really matters at the end of the day. I think that's really important.
Right. Jen, do you want to jump onto that? I think she made some great points. From your point of view, what are you thinking? What are you advising in terms of your clients and them looking at dates and how they're addressing you and other photographers in your circle?
Yeah, so it's been my experience it's been okay so far. I have had so far every wedding that has had to I've had only postponements. No one has canceled. So that's been great. I actually ended up making, just because the emails were kind of nonstop with my sort of first half of 2020 wedding, so I ended up making my availability online. I made a page on my website that I sent to couples who are currently in the process of postponing, and they're kind of talking with their venues, they're looking at dates. I just ended up making a page that they can log onto and view the dates that I already have booked for. I kind of put it from like September 2020 onwards, and so the rest of the year's on there as well as 2021, just so that if they're, if things are kind of moving quickly for some of them, there's some, some venues here that have 3 weddings every day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so they're just juggling so much. So sometimes the dates are just getting kind of booked up quickly. So I ended up making the calendar for couples like that who are having to make these decisions really quickly. So at least that they can see, it doesn't update, in real time, but I do, as soon as I get booked, I'll update the page so that they can see, just so that if they're on the phone with their venue, they know I'm definitely not available, or they can see if I am. So that's really helpful, and just kind of letting them know that, my 2020 couples are their top priority. Like I will do whatever I have to do, just like Julia was saying. Like I am comfortable doing double headers all the time anyway, but if I have to do a triple, I'll do it. Like I've done them before. They're a bit rough, but in order for me to be there for the clients that I've already, invested a lot of time and energy with and made connections with, for me, like that's the most important, goal moving forward, is I want to keep as many of my 2020 clients as I can, because we've already, we've put a lot of time and energy in and made some great connections there. So for me, that's kind of, I'll do anything to kind of make their dates work, including, making, my calendar available to them. But it is tricky. Like Khrystyna was talking about, this year I had like the perfect, dates. I had 3 weeks off before, or like, I think 2 weekends off before my wedding. And then I did have to work kind of right after, but it was for a very special client. So I was okay with it. So we would kind of do, a honeymoon is for later. But next year, like, I don't think I'm going to have any choices in terms of when I'm working and when I'm not,
Right.
What you do is you can kind of pick and choose and just say like, sorry, I'm not available. Like, here's some other people. But if they're your current clients who are postponing, obviously, that's top. I want to be there for that and for them. So that'll be interesting to kind of,
yeah.
I think that that's the one thing that I'm realizing, is that it's not going to be exactly how we'd initially planned. It's not going to be perfect in terms of, the weeks leading up. I might be working more than I would have hoped to be, but I think that there's some things that, as photographers specifically, we could change, in the weeks around our weddings. Like if I do end up having to shoot the weekend before mine, maybe they'll be understanding, I might not get your big sneak peek to you right away, or like, you know what I mean? Just little things like that. Because they, as brides, they know what it's like and how busy it is kind of leading up. So I think it'll be okay. But yeah, that's been the main thing, is just being really transparent with my couples and giving them dates. I feel like because my wedding is kind of, beginning of August, my 2020 is sort of split into 2. So basically my first half has all been postponed. I was able to shoot one in January, and that's kind of it so far. So everyone else has postponed, and so now my whole second half is still intact. No one has postponed after my wedding date. So I'm just starting to kind of hear from them and see kind of what they're just asking about, what the process looks like. But I am a little concerned for the couples who are later in the year who either aren't able to postpone yet based, on their venues. And it is a bit soon, I think, to be doing that. I'm just worried for them that if they need to push to next year, like if September and October couples are waiting until August, I just worry for date availability. Like those are the guys who are going to have to be really flexible with their, expectations about the dates that they're going to be in. Because it's just going to be like, it's just kind of it's all going to, climax at that sort of time of year. Like anyone who's trying to get into September and October for next year, but they're waiting until later this summer, it's going to be a little bit sticky. So.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Before I move on to the next thing, does anyone want to add to the point that she just made? Yeah, Khrystyna.
Just about the photographers, because when we booked our wedding, we booked it because of my photographer's availability, because I just that was the one person that I was like, I need you. And she was the only one that was having trouble when we were moving because she was so booked up. So when we were looking at some dates, and Jenna said this, but I was like, I'm fine if we're on a Tuesday, Wednesday, I don't care. Let's just figure this out. And she had told me, okay, that's fine. I can do this Tuesday, but it's I have 3 days in a row. She was already shooting, and she was like, I'll do it. I'll be there. And I thought about it, and I was like, listen, you're not going to you're going to just be exhausted. The fact that the photographers and other vendors are even offering this is showing
right
how hard we're all willing to just make it happen for you. But again, you have to think, okay, how, I know what I'm like after a, 12, 14, 16 hour wedding, but for photographers too, when they're just there and on for every single minute of their entire day, after 3 days of that, how is that person going to be? And do you really want to put them through that? And are they, it's just, yeah. So we ended up finding a different solution, but it was just it was amazing that people are even offering this and saying, yep, you know what, I'll figure it out. I'll, just make it there for you. But it's so hard. And I think people need to see that, how hard people are trying.
Yeah. I think that is 100% true. And I think that also the thing that a lot of, I'm thinking back to my own wedding, and I'm thinking about, being now on the other side of it, because I became a planner and I went into weddings after I got married.